Give us a little rundown of who you are, what you do, and the platform that you're building at Own America.
Sure, thank you. I'm a real estate junkie going back 30 years. I've had multiple businesses in the real estate business, from brokerage to financing and insurance. And about 9 years ago, I started Own America, and it was in response to the housing crisis. I believed that there was going to be an investment boom on the other side of the housing crisis. For those of you that weren't paying attention at that time, or because you were younger, a lot of you remember that it was really, really negative. There was just so many people that couldn't stop talking about the Second Great Depression. They were sipping on their Starbucks latte for $6, talking about how tough it was in the Second Great Depression. It made me nauseous. So
I
I
think they're
wrote
still
this.
sipping on their $6 lattes at
Yeah,
Starbucks.
I want to knock it out of their hands. Go drink the free coffee if it's a depression, for crying out loud. They have free
Right.
coffee. You pay $3 for a gallon of it. Um, but anyway, so the concept was, oh yeah, so I wrote this book, Crash Boom, and Crash Boom was pretty well received, and it was about, yeah, everyone knows about the crash. We've talked about that some. Let's talk about the boom to come, and it was all about the real estate investment boom that would happen. So I started a business around it, and we trained a national network of real estate brokers on how to be investment specialists, and we developed a bunch of technology, and we landed the big Wall Street firms, many of them that entered the space. I'm sure some of your listeners are aware that some big Wall Street players got into the housing market from an investment perspective over the last 6 years. Those were our clients. And so what we did for them is develop um, data and analytics and capabilities to analyze markets, analyze properties, select properties, acquire them, fix them, rent them out, and then manage them, and then measure them, and create really high performance portfolios. My passion really was always about the small investor, but I just got pulled into the big investors. I couldn't say no to these massive Wall Street firms, but it was great because out of necessity, they were very demanding, okay? And what they were trying to do had not been done. And if you wanted to play in that league, you had to bring a lot of value. And so we dug deep and we created some really, really cool stuff and then repackaged all of it and spun it around to Main Street. So built for Wall Street and then spun to Main Street. So ownamerica.com is a marketplace of rental property for sale. But if you're an owner of rental property or you aspire to be, you can open a free account, put your properties in, put your fantasy properties in, and get all these institutional quality charts and graphs and analytics and calculators and projections and maps and photos. And we call it the portfolio visualizer. And it's like, when you're me and you have no hobbies and all you really love is business and the business of real estate, this is like a video game for me. So if your listeners are real estate junkies, this is actually a video game. You will enjoy it. It was built for people like you, and you can learn a lot, and you can have a lot of fun, and it's free. So, and if you decide you want to pull the trigger on things, you can buy and sell properties on the platform as well.
That's awesome. That means I'm just moving in. We're just gonna have no fun together sitting in front of your computer. That's what we're gonna do.
Exactly.
I like it. Well, the topic of today's show is the 5 most effective things that rental owners do, and I think it's really fitting, considering that there's another book titled very similar to this, which is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. That being said, let's talk about the few things they seem kind of minimal, but they're also really high impact. What do good owners do? What do we need to be aware of?
Yeah. So think of it as the 5 habits of highly effective investors. This question got asked of me by somebody in media, and I've always recognized patterns. It's a strength of mine. So when I started to see over many years now, I've worked with large commercial real estate investors and developers in New York for a stretch, and then this run that I've had with Own America, where we're dealing with large Wall Street based investors investing all across the country, has given me some really interesting observations and perspectives that I can then boil down into this. So these are the things that people, this is not my advice of something somebody should do. This is what they do. And what I noticed was very consistent among all of them. The first one is real straightforward. They set money aside for repairs and maintenance. They recognize the fact that this is not a passive investment. Okay, that's probably the best way to open it. It's not a passive investment. These are physical properties. They are deteriorating. As we speak, the paint is cracking. As we speak, an ant is carving his way in. right? Like these,
Right.
there's a drop of
That's
water making its way in between the shingles, right? So these things are always deteriorating. They have a life cycle of repair, deteriorate, and so they need attention. And the biggest mistake I see investors make is where they neglect the property and it costs them triple what it otherwise would have cost. And the way to remedy that is to A, get your mindset right, that you're going to maintain these things and you're going to maintain them perfectly. Anything short of that is the equivalent of running a restaurant that has dirty silverware, right? If you rent out properties to tenants and the properties aren't in good condition, you stink. So don't stink. Like decide you're going to be good at it and set aside 10% of your rental income, all of it, full 10% of your rental income in a side account for repairs and maintenance. And when the repairs come up, do them, all of them, every time, right away. The best investors do that. They wind up with the happiest tenants. Those tenants pay increases in rent and stay a very long time. They take care of the place because the owner has pride. The tenant has pride. You know why? Because it's nice. So if you've got broken spindles on your front porch, all right, and the tenant accidentally puts a hole in the wall, does she care? Does he care? No, because you don't care. If the place is in great shape, they make a mistake, they're going to want to remedy it because they live in a pretty place, they have family coming over for Thanksgiving, and they want it to be in good condition. So number one, set the money aside, fix everything right away.
Here's a question. I've been getting a lot of questions about home automation, and we'll get to the rest of the 5 habits or the 4 habits here in a second. Home automation. Home automation seems to give me a better understanding of what's going on within the property, etc. I can connect it up to the temperature gauge, the heating cooling system, whatever I want to, and it can give me alerts whenever something is too hot, too cold, etc. It can lock the front doors. Is this something that you feel makes sense? Let's say if I can have it installed for less than $500-600 and pay a $15 a month fee, do you think it's worth it? Because this way I have real-time data on the property.
It can be if the further away you live. So for example, scenario A, I own the property. I have a property manager because I live 100 miles away and the property manager is keeping an eye on it. Well, it depends on how well the property manager is doing. Do they have regular inspections? Are the tenants easily empowered to notify the property manager of things going wrong? How old is my HVAC and how much of a bill is that? Does it wind up making an impact? Like if I'm going to save 50 cents a month because I'm going to find out that the utilities are being wasteful, it's a value and cost analysis. Are you getting enough? The cost benefit analysis. Are you getting enough value out of it? I think over the next several years, these things will get cheaper and they'll get more attuned to more things in the house. And when that happens, I think you'll find they become even more valuable. So it'll be the kind of thing where you'll be replacing a thermostat and it won't cost you any more to replace it with a smart thermostat. And in that situation, it'll be a no-brainer.